Hey, welcome back. We're up here in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. With me is Matt. He has a little company called Local Historia. He's also a history teacher around the area. We're up here at the train station in Bellefonte, right in downtown Bellefonte. Beautiful area, little park they got going here. It's a very historic part of town and the county. So I'm going to let you talk to Matt for a little bit, let him introduce himself, kind of give you an idea of what he's about. And then he's going to take us around town a little bit, show us a couple cool things, history related, and we'll get a good education and a nice tour and have some fun. So, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Thanks for coming to Bellefonte.
Yes, sir.
It's a pleasure talking with you. I have a walking tour business called Local Historia, and me and my good friend Dustin Elder, we do that together. He's also a teacher. I'm a teacher here at Bellefonte High School, history teacher, no surprise, and he's also a history teacher at Tyrone High School. And he also used to teach with me at Bellefonte. But anyways, we've been friends for a while, and we wanted to offer walking tours, and we both love history and love local history. And I was doing walking tours for the library here in Bellefonte, with an internship and things like that. And I just wanted to keep doing walking tours and love that experience and love giving people an experience where they can connect with local history. Absolutely. And that's kind of what it's all about. And local history is a great way to connect with history in general. And we kind of call it, bottom-up history instead of top-down. So every place has its wonderful local history, and Bellefonte, I'm partial to, and I feel spoiled with all the history here. But any small town you're at, you can dig in and enjoy it, or any big town as well. So, but yeah, we just started that a couple years ago, and it's been fun. We do videos, we write articles and publications. But the heart of it is walking tours. So we've done everything from Civil War themed walking tours to World War II themed tours. Themed tours. We partner with other local historians sometimes. Like we've done, partnered with a historian in Altoona to do tours there. But most of our tours are in Center County, Bellefonte, Tyrone, because my partner's from Tyrone. But we're open to working with people anywhere. And just kind of making a fun experience for participants.
Cool, very cool. So let me ask you. So you kind of started this out as a fun little hobby kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just doing your tours, and it slowly built up to the point where you decided to kind of make it an official business.
Yeah. So definitely, just wanted to get organized with it, do it right. So we started an LLC, and we got insurance and all the things you have to think about with leading people around town and stuff like that. So we just wanted to do it right, get organized, and it's been fun. I like that side of things, and thinking as an entrepreneur and thinking about what I can do for the next event, or how we would market it, or how we and making it different or making it fun, and all that stuff to me is fun, and the history's fun too, so it's all just fun. So it's a matter of just balancing my my real job and my family, and doing this stuff, like talking to you, is just fun. I love talking local history. So
awesome. Well, I was very intrigued when I read your story, when I found your website last year, I believe it was, how you build it up to what it is, and in a rather short amount of time. But, But your passion for history really shines through and all that. So
thank you.
And I'm sure your customers sense that too.
Absolutely, and I think, they do. I think that's a big part of it. We say it's a passion for local history, community, and preservation. That's like our motto, and that passion, I think people really feed off of that, and they have the passion too, and they just want an opportunity to do something with it. They want an opportunity to learn, or they want an opportunity to experience a different part of town, or a different event, or something like that, and really celebrate local. And there's a lot of ways to support local things, whether it's restaurants or whatever. That's all important, and so it's just another way to support local community.
Cool, very good. Now I want to ask you, as a history teacher, and this is every school, you're either into it or you're not. There's really no in between with history. So your job as the history teacher is to kind of make it interesting enough where those people who really could care less get somewhat of an interest in it. I mean, is there a certain way you approach that? Or?
That's a good. That's true. It does feel like an uphill battle a lot with kids. I mean, you have kids that are really into it, and that's fun, and it's a pleasure having those few kids that are really into it. But for the most part, as a teenager, ninth grader, they're not sure what they're into.
Yep.
So it does feel like an uphill battle a lot. And I think that's what's fun about it's kind of a challenge. Like, I want to make this interesting. I want to, I want to surprise you and get you, I want to tell you an emotional story or tell you something that is going to get some emotion going, whether it's anger or sad, being sad about something or whatever. And not, I just see that as a challenge and as an opportunity to surprise them. I don't, obviously the rote memorization and stuff like that's never gonna win them over.
Right.
And of course you have to learn things, and we're not always doing backflips and things in the classroom. But I think history is interesting, and like you said, if you're passionate about it, they can sense that, and they'll listen to you more. And if you are authentically interested in the subject, and there's a lot of teachers that are, and the history does the work for you if you just let it. If you kind of bring out those good stories and storytelling, and I think more people can relate, and students included can relate to a story,
Absolutely.
Versus just isolated facts or whatever. So it's an uphill battle. It is challenging, but it's a fun challenge, and that's fun about walking tours is because usually you get people who are voluntarily there, who are interested in history, and that's really, really refreshing. So I come from a classroom where I might have a little victory, and or maybe a big victory sometimes with the kids, and hopefully I'm making a difference every day, and that's what I try to do. But when you come to a tour where everybody's willing to be there and they want to learn, it's so refreshing. And I've had students on my tours too, and they'll come with their parents, and that's always fun to see. But that's why walking tours are outside of the classroom can be very fun too, because the people are choosing to be there and they want to learn.
Very cool. Have you noticed over the last few years that you've been doing this, have your clientele been getting larger groups as the years went on, or is it kind of same from the beginning?
Yeah, it's been growing. We definitely get the same repeat customers. We have supporters is probably a better way to put it. They've been from the beginning. They'll come to this event 1 month. They'll come to the next event. Some of them have come to the same tours multiple times. So I really appreciate that support. But in general, we're growing. Our subscriber list is growing. It's not huge or anything, but we're trying to. When they get an email, it's from me. Like, it's not a robot saying.
It's personal.
It's just me saying, hey, next month we're doing a Civil War themed tour in Altoona. If you'd like to join us, here's the link. And so, so we're growing numbers in terms of that list, and that's good because more people are interested, or more people are aware of us. I think that's part of it. Aware that we're providing tours, and so whether it's a walking tour or some kind of ghost tour, or we do events, random events. In Bellefonte, we did a craft brewery event where we were talking about the history of a local brewery.
Yep.
And it involved looking at going to a private location and looking at old beer vaults that were dug into the hillside. So sometimes it's like private event type thing on a location, but a lot of them are just public walking tours.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're on the right track. You're doing well, and I love hearing those small entrepreneur stories, man. When you start out with nothing and build it up, and it sounds like you're on the right track. Yes. And from your website and the little bit that I know about it, things are going well. So
yeah,
awesome.
It's going well. It's been fun.
So what is your Pennsylvania in general, very rich in history, for many reasons, and the central part of the state, what would where you focus on? What would you say is your favorite subject to teach or activity to do history wise in the central part of the state?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's so much. I do like Civil War stuff, although that's surprising to a lot of people. A lot of people are interested in the Civil War, but making connections. Like when we do a Civil War themed tour in Bellefonte or in Altoona, and we've done one on Tyrone. What we're doing is telling the stories of guys from regiments from those areas.
Cool.
And saying, oh, this guy, unfortunately died on the second day at Gettysburg, and this is what happened to him. And so we're, although there's not a battle here, there's guys who went to battle from Bellefonte or from Milesburg or from Center Hall. So State College, from the farm school. Those boys from Penn State.
Yep.
Penn State almost closed at the time, and Evan Pugh was stressed out, and a lot of those guys went to war, and they almost had to close the school, and some of them didn't come back. So we just we try to honor them, tell those stories. That's one of my favorite tours. And it's been some of our longest tours because it just is so emotional, and it's an hour and a half, 2 hour tour, and people will do it because they want to learn about these veterans, and so my favorite, those type of things. But I also like, we have the Underground Railroad history here.
Oh, yeah.
And then in Central PA in general, I love the railroad and transportation history, the canal history. That's, we're kind of connected to. And all that stuff's great. I don't know, I really get into it all, but the 1800s, of Pennsylvania, the 19th century is really kind of my wheelhouse, in especially Central PA.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anybody on your tours that was kind of there because they just came along with a friend for the company and they ended up really liking it, or
yeah, I think so.
They gave you some compliments. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Cool.
I think so. I think some people were just hopefully had a good experience and they were pleasantly surprised and maybe learned something. So, but yeah, most people do or come because they want to be here. But yeah, you definitely get those all sorts. So.
Cool. So what's your vision for the next 5 to 10 years of Local Historia? What would you say? Where would you like to be in 5-10 years?
That's a good question. We'd like to do more tours in other locations, and even if it's not me directly, that's okay. We just like to support maybe a local historian in Reading or somewhere that would be wanting to do tours but doesn't know how to necessarily get started, or doesn't maybe want some advice. And so we've done that before. We've collaborated with like a historian in Altoona, and he's very accomplished and he knows what he's doing, and it just helped when we came in and said, hey, we do tours, this is how we do it, we can help you with these kind of things, and we partnered, and it's kind of a win-win. So if anybody's watching this and they're like, hey, I'd love to give tours in Carlisle or whatever, we can help you with that, and that's we're trying to grow in that way. But of course we want to have good quality historians and keep the expectations high and everything. So that's my vision, is I hope to see Local Historia tours in more places.
Very cool.
So, and more opportunities for people to go on local walking tours. So one of the initial theories about it was, you can go to Gettysburg and do this, of course. Gettysburg is amazing. And you should be able to go there and do tours. And why not in other smaller towns and medium-sized towns, and there's places there's always a local historical society and they have events going on and they do great jobs. But I feel the harvest is plenty with history. There's a lot of need, and there's a lot of need for education, and there's a lot of need for preservation, and there's usually not enough people, and there's usually not enough and there could be more opportunities. So I think we're not competing with anybody. We're just adding to the availability of local history.
Very cool. Do you see expanding out of Pennsylvania, or do you want to kind of focus on staying within the Commonwealth?
Mostly our focus is Pennsylvania, just because we're going to have more connections and stuff like that. We're not opposed to it. We're definitely open to that, and actually we're working with a historian in Maryland, so we're planning to. And he's with us. He's on our team, and he's a great addition. So to answer that, I guess yes, we are going to work in other places, but our main focus and our hearth, or our home base is right here in Bellefonte. So it's right out of here, Center County. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. I can tell just by talking to you, you got a lot of passion about it, and there's no doubt in my mind you're going to succeed. So
thanks,
guy. So what we're going to do is we won't bore you too much with the talking. So. We're going to go around town here, and he's going to show us some interesting little tidbits about this and that around here. It's a surprise to me. He didn't tell me yet, so I'm going to be seeing it for the first time just as you are. But let's go take a little walking tour around Bellefonte and check out what we got.
So this is Governor Andrew Gregg Curtin. He was the governor of Pennsylvania during the Civil War. He's one of the most well-known governors from Bellefonte. Of our 7 governors. Bellefonte's claim to fame is that we had 7 governors from this town, or lived in this town, or worked in this town at one point. And Curtin's probably the most well known because of the major role he played in American history during the Civil War. All right, so we're behind the Curtin statue now, in the middle of town, in the diamond, in front of the Center County Courthouse. And Bellefonte had 7 governors came out of this town, mainly because it being a county seat, a new county seat in the year 1800. You have a bunch of judges here, you have judges' kids, attorneys, Actually, Andrew Gregg Curtin was an attorney at first by trade, and then he eventually runs for office and becomes governor during the Civil War. So his dad was also an iron master, which is really a good example of this county as well. There's a lot of ironworks and there's a lot of wealth. There was 18 or 19 ironworks in Center County alone in the 1800s, and his dad's ironworks was in Milesburg, in the Howard Milesburg area, Eagle Ironworks in Curtin Village. So an ironmaster's kid goes to the best schools, becomes a successful attorney, and he becomes governor of Pennsylvania during a crucial time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they called him a strong pillar during the stormy days of the Republic. And even before he became governor, he actually was kind of helped with the Underground Railroad. And the reason I say that is because one day in 1856, a man named Henry Thomas was working in a nearby hotel. And because of the fugitive slave laws, he was kidnapped by bounty hunters looking for him. And Andrew Gregg Curtin actually gathered up a posse and went after him. Now, he was not successful, but it kind of shows he practiced what he preached, and even before he was a big shot governor. When he became governor and the Civil War happened, he was instrumental in raising troops. They even call Camp Curtin, they named it after him, outside of Harrisburg. Because he visited it so much, and he would kind of eat with the boys as they're being trained to become hardened soldiers and about to deploy. He visited them so often, and he helped raise so many troops that they named that Camp Curtin. Sometime after, it helped raise more troops than any camp in the North, over 300,000
I wasn't aware of that.
troops. Yeah,
very cool.
So there's a lot of things we could talk about him, and a few of the things that I like to mention is him being a soldier's friend. That's actually his nickname. He would visit troops. They would write to him. His wife helped nurse soldiers. Catherine Wilson Curtin helped nurse soldiers in their executive mansion in Harrisburg.
Oh wow.
So they were very active in supporting the soldiers. They say he knew every Pennsylvania officer's first name.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's true, but he was very active and very hands-on. He even visited Chancellorsville after the Battle of Chancellorsville in 1863, and it was a big loss for the Union, and some of the boys from here were killed and wounded, and he addressed their 148th Pennsylvania, which is the Center County Regiment, and he tried to address them, and their regimental history, they reported him getting on a tree stump, trying to console them, looking at all the missing people in the ranks.
Wow.
And he started to cry in front of the whole regiment. And they actually broke ranks and went up and hugged him and consoled him. He tried to console the regiment, but they actually had to go up and console their governor because he had just broken into tears because he realized that some of the boys he knew probably from this big, from Bellefonte or from the area, just got killed in the woods in Chancellorsville. Wow. So they called him Soldier's Friend. Another big part of his legacy is that he was at the Gettysburg Address that day with Lincoln, and there's a wonderful photo, one of the only photos by Matthew Brady where they know it's Lincoln. Curtin's clear as day on the to the right of Lincoln because he's on the stage that day, because as governor of Pennsylvania, he pledged to properly bury the Union dead who died at the Battle of Gettysburg, and it was his leadership and his role as governor to make sure that happened and that ground was acquired for the Soldiers National Cemetery. And so he was the reason that 2-minute famous speech happened, because it was to dedicate that ground that they consecrated themselves. But the reason that whole thing happened was because of the governor.
Interesting. No, never knew that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a small town like this can be so prominent. You know, the Civil War was a huge time for this country. You know, both good and bad.
Yeah.
To have a small town like this be that prominent in such a major historical event is rather impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're down here. The individual he's talking about, there is a statue right downtown, and about a half a block down is where he lived, correct? That was his residence, permanent residence?
Yes, and it's now an Elks Lodge, but that's where he lived after he served, as governor and as congressman, and he spent his last days out there, and he died in that house in October of 1894. So it's a notable home in the community. When they had the funeral here, they said thousands of people came in off the trains. It was a major event. The whole town draped itself in black streamers. Wow. Soldiers came from all over the country to honor him. It was a military funeral. and they said the funeral procession, the local paper said it was a mile long.
Wow.
And they took him up to Union Cemetery behind the courthouse here and shot cannons and muskets and gave speeches and buried him with honor. So he was not just a local figure, he was a national figure, a key ally to Lincoln, and I think very representative of not Bellefonte's history and Center County's history in many ways.
Yeah, very good. Good information. Thank you for that. Wasn't aware of that. So as you can see, Bellefonte has a very strong and unique history with the Civil War, but obviously there's other stuff too. We can't go into everything here today. We're trying to keep this video short, but just giving you a little taste of what's here. We're going to go check out, what do you got on tap next?
So you asked about a ghost story, so I thought I'd take you to one of the more haunted or supposedly haunted structures in Bellefonte, and we'll tell a ghost story. Yeah.
Down.
All right.
All right, let's go check it out.
All right, sounds good.
All right, here we are on Allegheny Street. Behind me is the Hastings Mansion. There's some interesting stuff that goes on here. I'm going to let Matt take the lead from here. He'll fill you in. Check it out.
Yeah, this grand mansion behind us here, locals have passed on many stories about it. It was the residence of Governor Daniel Hastings, so we talked about Governor Curtin. Hastings was another one of our governors, and he lived in this house in the 1890s until about 1903 when he passed away. And when they had his funeral, he did lie in state in this mansion, and they had a grand funeral for him. So that's the name Hastings Mansion. But long even before it was his house, this whole block, this whole site was the location of a older hotel in the same general site. There was other residence at some point, and then when this was built, it had already had a good history on the site. So with ghost stories, especially with old hotels and the sites of old hotels, there's so many people that come through towns and different stories. Hotels tend to have a good amount of activity. But this home was built late 1800s, and it has unusual activity according to locals. I've even talked to people on my ghost tours, and they'll say things like a little unusual type, things breaking, things like that. But it's a beautiful home, and they love living there, so it's nothing that's going to scare them away. But according to some older stories, people kind of hear things and see things that are kind of unusual for sure. And the first basic things, you'll hear, maybe children playing or laughing, a child that plays on the stairs, a child that might vanish, into thin air as you approach it, somewhere around the stairs. But one of the most concerning things that people see or have reported seeing, especially a long time ago, is a lady in white. And this story interests me because there are lady in white stories all around the world. There's kind of a common theme when it comes to ghost stories. They've been told in Europe, they've been told in other parts of Pennsylvania, Lancaster, in the cemetery in Lancaster. There's kind of a lady in white that roams around one of the cemeteries there. In Altoona on a curve on Wapsie Mountain, there's a lady in white that might get in your car. If you see her on the side of the road or in the woods floating around. So these ladies in white have a common background. They usually die tragically on their wedding night. So they're wearing a wedding dress. So one of the theories is that this lady in white that appears in the Hastings Mansion maybe died on her wedding night in some tragic accident. So that's kind of the story of these other ladies in whites in different places. And seeing a lady in white is not good because it's a death omen. Typically it means that you're going to die or someone you know is going to die.
You want to avoid those.
Yeah, you want to avoid. So if there's a lady in white behind us, let us know. You look at her and we won't look at her. No. If people have seen this and there's a story of maybe a guy walking around who did see the lady in white, maybe a night watchman who checks the doors in the old residence, who used to check to make sure the rooms were okay. People hear the sound of a heavy footstep and the turning of doorknobs. Maybe this guy, in his duties, one night checking the house out, saw the lady in white. So it's just a fascinating theme that intrigues me all around Pennsylvania and all around the world.
Interesting. I never knew that with the lady in white was bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
Interesting.
It's death omen.
Yeah, so avoid lady in white if you can.
Yeah, we'll get out of here.
Yeah. So again, this is Bellefonte is loaded with beautiful architecture.
Yeah.
Obviously, with that, the older architecture comes the history, and when you have a town as old as this, you're going to have hauntings, on different levels, whether it's a lady in white that could do you some extreme harm, or just your typical, doorknobs, noises, and stuff. But either way, fascinating stuff. This would have been probably more interesting if it was at nighttime and we were a little, carrying a lantern or something, made it a little more spookier. But you got the idea.
You have to go to the ghost tour for that. That's what we do. We carry lanterns around and we get really into it. Yeah.
So next year, around October, keep an eye out. Come up here, check out some of the ghost tours.
Yeah.
And, but this is a beautiful area. Really cool town. Even if you don't come up here for the history or the ghost stuff that we're talking about, it's just a beautiful town to come up and walk around. There's a lot going on here. Stuff seems to be kind of popping up in the Bellefonte area in recent years, and it's kind of a happening place now.
It is.
So,
Yeah, it is.
But so do you? Is there anything particular with any of the newer businesses that you kind of recommend to people, or?
Well, there's lots of. I think all the businesses are great to visit. The park's wonderful, and around the park area and around Spring Creek, people come from all over to fish at Spring Creek.
Yeah.
And it's just walking around it and enjoying the sights. There's a few restaurants right near the creek, so you can walk along the creek and go to the Gamble Mill, which is a newly revitalized mill. It has a restaurant. It has Airbnb. You can stay in if you're here for the game or whatever. There's the old Match Factory, is a beautiful restored building too, and there's a distillery in there, and
cool.
There's great coffee shops by the creek, and then uptown too. We're up High Street. We're up at the top of the town. There's great pizza places and all kinds of good stuff to enjoy. So, and there's museums. The Bellefonte Art Museum is a great thing to check out. They have an Underground Railroad exhibit, a self-guided tour you can do from that location, and just lots of things to explore here and enjoy.
Cool. Yeah, I love the area. So I'm going to make this post, and I will post the information for Local Historia. If you want to check them out, they're all over social media. They have a website. They do tours. Do you do all throughout the year or specific times?
Yeah, we have busier seasons, but we can do private tours whenever. But most of our public tours are in the nicer months. But we're available if anybody has an idea, they're visiting and they want to check it out. If we can schedule something, that's fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Again, Local Historia. Matt, thank you very much.
Thanks,
I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. You got a busy schedule. I got the family at home. So
thanks.
Check them out. Website, social media. I will post the links on the page with this post. And if you have any questions for Matt, you can message them directly on their social media, or you can post it on the post that I make, and he hopefully will see it and answer it, or I will forward it to him to make sure he knows there's a question asked. And I'll let Matt have a minute or two if he wants to say any final notes on Local Historia or just the area, or call you, Matt.
No, thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. This was fun, and it's cool what you're doing. Is kind of journaling and recording and celebrating Pennsylvania's history and cool things about it. I think it's a wonderful place to live, and we kind of have the same passion. So I think it's great. So it's just been a pleasure walking around with you. But I think, I'm good. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Well, good luck to you in your business.
Yeah.
Things seem to be going good, and I'm sure it's only going to grow from here. So
I appreciate it.
And he does have a partner. We did mention
Dustin.
Do you want to give him a shout out quick, or we don't want to leave you feeling left out?
No, he's good. He's all about. I told him we were doing this today, and he lives in Tyrone, so he doesn't come out to everything, and he doesn't need to. So he's got a couple kids too, and so we got each other's back. So we help each other all the time.
Dustin, sorry, didn't want to leave you out there. Give you a shout out, but again, Local Historia, check them out. Thanks so much.